It was one of the most exhausting days of my life, but also one of the most fulfilling days. It was when I did that, I was like, okay, I could do anything now. My journey with The Outsiders is actually kind of a long one. I auditioned for a workshop of The Outsiders back in 2018, so 6 years ago now, and I booked the role of Johnny Cade in that. And then my journey kind of moved to pre-COVID times when I played Ponyboy in a lab of The Outsiders. And when COVID hit, everything stopped, and I thought The Outsiders was kind of a done deal for me. And then by the universe, I was able to come back into this space and was able to audition for a cover position for Ponyboy and Johnny, and found out not too soon after that I booked the roles. I learned in school, I went to the University of Michigan, that the first thing you do when you learn a role is memorize the lines. The work does not begin until the lines are memorized. You can't play until you know what you're saying. So the first thing I did in this one was memorize Johnny Cade first, and then the Beast of Ponyboy. Rehearsals at the beginning was a lot of watching, and for most understudy tracks, that is the case. So I was watching the roles that I understudy practice their stuff, and make changes throughout the process. And then I was prepared to go on at a moment's notice. Just being aware of everything, not just your tracks, but the show as a whole. When I'm looking at it, when I'm first learning these characters, I'm looking kind of big picture at everything, because when you do go on at a moment's notice, you have to be listening to everything, and you have to be eyes open to your surroundings, because in a show like The Outsiders, it's kind of dangerous. There's a lot of moving parts, and similarly with Evan Hansen, there was a lot of moving parts that you could get hurt. And with this show being a heavy dance show as well, thankfully I do not have to do much of that. But the people around me are doing flips and tricks, and when you do go on, you kind of get tunnel vision. So being aware of everything going on around you is extremely important. There's like the typical using different color highlighters, and I would do like JC for Johnny Cade and PB for Ponyboy, and when I was marking up my script. But personally, I have just like a lot going on up here. Writing down stuff doesn't necessarily help me all that much, but I know like my fellow swings who cover more tracks than I do. We have someone on the show covering 7 tracks. They have post-it notes all over their dressing room. It looks like they're trying to solve a crime. It's like really intense, and that's needed. But with my stuff, it's a lot going on up here, and there's a lot of changes happening for the roles that I cover too. Line changes that, like, if I were to write things down, I just immediately would erase it the next day. So that kind of got frustrating in the rehearsal process. So I just kind of was just watching everything happen and taking notes in my head. I mean, maintaining health is the most important thing, because your job as an understudy is to go on at a moment's notice, and usually that moment's notice is caused by sickness. And so your job is to stay healthy when everyone else is getting sick. And in times of like bad allergy seasons, I'm staying ahead of that, and I'm picking up some Juice Gen. Juice Gen, if you're watching, please sponsor us. I'm drinking Electrolyte to like have my electrolytes going, and drinking tons of water, and sleeping as much as I can, trying to minimize going out as late as possible, which is very hard being a young person on Broadway. But yeah, just trying to like maintain my health, and also maintain my body as well. So trying to go to the gym, getting massages and physical therapy when I can. It's a lot of maintenance, to be ready to perform. And sometimes you don't go on for weeks at a time, you know? So also like flexing the brain muscle and like going over these lines off stage and stealing other actors to maybe like go through a scene that you haven't ran in a long time. All very important things. It was 2020. And January, they were doing a big lab of The Outsiders, where we were essentially learning the whole show, but really focusing on the fighting and the dancing aspect of the show, and kind of building that world. I was cast as Ponyboy in that, so I was playing that every single day, Monday through Friday, and on top of that, I was also doing Dear Evan Hansen at night. I was understudying in that role, but I was actually on the entire time that I was doing the lab. So I was doing Ponyboy during the day and then Jared at night. And then I got a call one day that they were lacking coverage that day and they needed me to switch off and play Evan Hansen for the matinee and Jared at night. So I went 9 a.m. in the morning, was playing Ponyboy during the morning, went to the matinee, played Evan Hansen, went back to rehearsal and played Ponyboy in between shows, and then did Jared Kleinman at night. And it was one of the most exhausting days of my life, but also one of the most fulfilling days. It was when I did that, I was like, okay, I could do anything now. You know, I feel like Superman, and yeah, and honestly, just being a part of those two shows that like really mean so much to so many people was a really like impactful moment in my life. So very grateful.